Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and the final video for our long Hail Caesar series here, covering all the different factions for the game. Started all the way in the early like Stone Age almost with some of these factions, worked our way through the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Classical Age, Dark Ages, all the way up to the Middle Ages here, late Middle Ages. So we're wrapping things up with the Mongols, 13th century. Obviously, if you know anything about the history, right, Mongols were a threat for a long, long time. So names like Genghis Khan, Subutai, etc., all are relevant names there for you. So as you might expect, it's going to be a cavalry-heavy list. So the heavy cavalry has to be at least 10% of the army, and then horse archers have to be at least 50% of the army, right? So you could go 50-50 on just heavy cavalry and archers, or some combination of that, but at least half the force has to be horse archers. So, which you can already tell before we even look at stats, right? This is going to be a very shooty list. Forced captive infantry can be up to 10%, and all these must be organized into a single division consisting solely of captured forces, basically. So something different here to wrap up the series. Then we have Khitan or Armenian/Georgians up to 25%. But cannot contain both. And then finally, divisions here, normal units excluding skirmishers, and we don't really get skirmishers in this list, so interesting stuff there. Let's jump right in. Obviously, again, cavalry heavy, and they've got some really powerful cavalry here. So we start off with the aforementioned heavy cavalry armed with bows and lances. So your standard heavy cavalry profile clocking in at 35 points. A little more expensive than some because, again, we're actually getting the 2 for long range with the bows here too. And then without any other restrictions, really, just points that we can afford, we can pay 1 point to make them tough fighters on top of that, which is already kind of scary. And then stubborn for 3 more points and marksman for 1 more point. So if we want to get super fancy and have just like a ridiculously elite unit, 40 points, and you've got tough fighters, stubborn, marksmen, and the heavy cavalry stat line. Scary stuff, lances and bows. The Mongol horse archers, which have to be most of the list, which ironically the top guys technically are horse archers too, but the purely dedicated horse archers all have Parthian shot built in, and we can then also make those guys marksmen for 1 more point. So a lot of small units, but again, lots of units that are throwing 2 at long range, and again, they're just going to keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. This list is going to tear you apart with shooting, and then what gets into combat is going to be easy pickings for the heavy cavalry and others. So then we do have those extra guys here. The Cuman, Kipchak, or other Turkic light cavalry with spears, javelins, and bows as small units. These guys give us a little bit more punch, right? At a 5 there, still not your like really hardcore dedicated combat unit, but another unit that shoots at long range, and this one has feigned flight. So we get some other interesting choices here. The Khitan Cataphract heavy cavalry with spears and bows. So cataphracts that shoot, right? Interesting stuff there. No special rules for these guys. Not that it's needed, but cataphract rules. We have the heavy cavalry with spears and bows, just a generic version there, so a little cheaper than the Mongol one. But again, we're playing the Mongols to be able to play the Mongols, right? So while these are cool entries that we have here, I think we're basically focusing on the actual Mongol units, right, for this list, just for the sheer amount of power they bring. Now, the Khitans do have a nice little light unit here with javelins and bows and maybe spears. And again, can do a little bit of work. These guys have feigned flight, so but same thing as the unit up above. So it's really just picking one that you like, I guess. The Khitan horse archers as small units, so good stuff there. And again, another cheap unit, Parthian shot here as well, with the range, right? Everything's got bows. As you can see, just about the whole list shoots, right? But again, why not just keep it thematic? Take the Mongols. They're doing the same thing. And then another heavy cavalry unit here, the Georgian or Armenian ones, right? 33 points again. Your generic heavy cavalry with lance unit, but no shooting. Again, for 2 more points, we're getting the base Mongol unit, right? Which is just going to do way more. But just again, a lot of interesting thematic stuff here from different like captured or conquered peoples. Speaking of infantry, those forced captive massed as warbands. Just fun for taking it, right? They're wavering and levy. One of the crappiest stat lines that we've ever seen here. 4-2. No shooting for these guys. And no save either. So basically just fodder and also just 5 points a unit, right? So if we wanted to just have this huge mass of just, again, cannon fodder, but just there to get in the way and but look thematic that, you got the elite Mongols, and then these guys just kind of being forced to fight, but can really throw up some roadblocks for a while at least, for the opponent, kind of funnel them into areas where you can just rain death on them. And then finally, leadership 8 all the way across the board. Oops, one more. We have medium artillery counterweight catapults. If you don't already have enough long range shooting, you get another 3 for long range there with an actual artillery unit. So just something, to throw in to round this out. But the Mongols, again, super powerhouse here. It's going to be fast. It's going to be hard hitting. It's going to just do essentially what it wants. You're going to have to isolate if possible, pick them apart a little bit, maybe even double team units if you can, just to trap them as well, and cut off avenues. You cannot let these guys get behind you. Otherwise, it's already game over. Leadership 8 across the board here, right, with the commanders, so we don't need anything else. The list is kind of just going to autopilot itself. Everything basically shoots. We're going to soften the opponent up and then just charge home and win fights, barring catastrophic rolls. Opponent's going to have a tough job of fighting these guys, as kind of was historically the case. So let us know, guys, if you fielded a thematic Mongol list for Hail Caesar with the time period. What all contemporary units did you fight against, or contemporary armies did you fight against, and how that went for you. But that will finally wrap up the series here. So well over, I think, 100 factions that we've covered for the game, without getting into any like the expansion books or anything like that. But the main list is now complete. So thanks so much for watching all these, guys. It was fun covering all these and just kind of talking about different ideas for these different factions. So thanks for watching. Hit us up in the comments, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.